and I'm the author of a number of books, including The Sign and the Seal, Fingerprints of the Gods, and The Message of the Sphinx.
And what would be the premise of The Sign and the Seal?
The premise of The Sign and the Seal is that an apparently extraordinary tradition in Ethiopia, namely that the Ethiopians possess the lost Ark of the Covenant, is true, that they do have it. It's the only country in the world that maintains a living tradition of veneration of the Ark of the Covenant, and in The Sign and the Seal I did a thorough journalistic investigation of the Ethiopian tradition, which also involved going to Egypt and to Israel and investigating the whole background of the Ark of the Covenant and looking into how this incredible lost biblical relic could have found its way to Ethiopia. The Ethiopian claim to possess the Ark of the Covenant is based on a myth, a story, which argues that the Queen of Sheba was an Ethiopian queen, and that when she visited Solomon in Jerusalem, which is described in the Old Testament, she not only exchanged presents with him, but was made pregnant by him and bore him a son, who became the founder of the Ethiopian royal dynasty, the last member of which was Haile Selassie, who was overthrown in 1974. According to Ethiopian tradition, this young man, the son of the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon Menelik, returned to the court of his father as a young man, and after a year there contrived, it's a very long story, but with various colleagues and friends, managed to steal the Ark of the Covenant from the Holy of Holies of the Temple of Solomon and carry it off to Ethiopia. What I've argued in The Sign and the Seal, to cut a long story short, is that the Ethiopian tradition is a metaphor for the truth, that they do have the Ark of the Covenant, but that it did not arrive in Ethiopia in the manner described in the myth, that it came to Ethiopia quite a lot later than that, at around 410 BC, and that it was brought to Ethiopia as part of a rather long process. I argue that it was removed from the Temple of Solomon at around 650 BC during the reign of a king called Manasseh, who was an apostate who had abandoned the Judaic faith. The priests could not have tolerated the continuing presence of the Ark of the Covenant in the temple at that time because he put a pagan idol in the Ark of the Covenant. This is well documented in the Bible. I believe that the Ark of the Covenant was removed from the Temple of Solomon at that time and carried to the island of Elephantine in Upper Egypt on the River Nile. And it is a fact, an anomalous fact of history, that a Jewish temple was built on the island of Elephantine at around 650 BC. Nobody knows why it was built. It was the only Jewish temple in the world outside the Temple of Solomon at that time. The function of the temple, clearly described in the Bible, was only one thing: to serve as a house of rest for the Ark of the Covenant. I think it was moved to Elephantine, and from Elephantine it there stayed for 200 years until that temple on the island of Elephantine was destroyed. The Jewish community on Elephantine migrated south following the Nile River system, and they carried the Ark of the Covenant to the headwaters of the Blue Nile, Lake Tana in Ethiopia.